Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Spiritual Edition. And this is an introduction to a new book that we're going to read in March of 2025. And the book's name is called Flow. Now, I got the inspiration to read this book because recently watched an animated film with the same name, Flow. I don't think they're related or they're associated with each other. I think it's just coincidence that the book's name and the animated film's name is the same. But anyways, a little bit about the animated film. The name is called Flow, and the director and writer is a guy from Latvia, the country of Latvia. And his name is Gintz Zilbalodis. Anyways, I'll leave a link below if you are interested in checking it out. I've watched it in the theaters, but I don't think it's in the theaters anymore. It's probably in the streaming, um, whatever you call it, the streaming areas, streaming whatever. Like, Amazon Prime and things like that. So I think you can probably find it on Amazon Prime. And I won't give the story away, but it is about animals. It's about a cat, and it's very beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. I'm not much of an animated person or animated movie kind of person, but this is very, very touching, very beautifully well done. And I believe it recently won the Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture, the animation category, and it's nominated for an Academy Award. So it will be very interesting to see. Maybe it'll come back to the theaters and you guys can check it out there. But anyways, I watched, a couple of the writer director's interviews, and he did not mention the book at all. So I don't think he based his film on the book, but I wanted to do the book because it's number one, it's the same name. And number two, I've heard this book for, many, many years ago. People just kind of mention it like, oh, in passing, right? But I never really know what the book was about. So that kind of got me interested. So we'll be exploring this book together to see, what this book is about. Now, I'm going to do something different with this intro because this book doesn't really have an introduction. And so I'm going to read starting from the end of the book as an introduction. So we'll see. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I kind of put it in the spiritual category because, when you talk about flow, there's a lot of Buddhist concepts, Taoist concepts about flow of life and, the being in the flow, being in the zone kind of thing. You hear phrases like that. And so I kind of put it in the spiritual category, but I have a feeling I didn't read the book, but I just was flipping through it in preparation for this introduction, that it's about the psychology aspect of consciousness. So that should be interesting. And look, it says right there, the psychology. Oh, here, let me do this. The psychology of optimal experience. Important, illuminates the way to happiness. There you go. All right, so we're going to start from the end, and I'll leave a link below for the registration of the book club, as well as the Amazon link to buy the book if you're interested. And this book is written by Mihaly, and I am not even going to attempt to say his last name. So I think I'm just gonna call him Mr. C. Okay, Mr. C. All right. Mihaly C. There you go. All right. So we're going to start with the back. Oops, if I could find it. And it's the PS section. And we'll read about the book. Okay. And the quotes on the side here, I'm not going to read because it's part of the paragraphs that I'll be reading. But I will leave it there for you guys to look at if you're interested. But we will start with this section here. And let me move the pages, the camera a little closer so you can, okay, so you can read it. All right, the flow of creativity. The following passage is excerpted from Creativity, Flow, and the Psychology of Discovery and Invention by Mihaly C. HarperCollins, 1996. Creative persons differ from one another in a variety of ways, but in one respect they are unanimous. They all love what they do. It is not the hope of achieving fame or making money that drives them. Rather, it is the opportunity to do the work that they enjoy doing. Jacob Rabinow explains, you invent for the hell of it. I don't start with the idea what will make money. This is a rough world. Money's important. But if I have to trade between what's fun for me and what's money making, I'll take what's fun. The novelist Naguib Mahfouz concurs in more genteel tones. I love my work more than I love what it produces. I am dedicated to the work regardless of its consequences. We found the same sentiments in every single interview. What is extraordinary in this case is that we talked to engineers and chemists, writers and musicians, business persons and social reformers, historians and architects, sociologists and physicians, and they all agree that they do what they do primarily because it's fun. Yet many others in the same occupations don't enjoy what they do. So we have to assume that it is not what people do that counts, but how they do it. Being an engineer or a carpenter is not in itself enjoyable. But if one does these things a certain way, then they become intrinsically rewarding, worth doing for their own sake. What is the secret of transforming activities so that they are rewarding in and of themselves? Programmed for creativity. When people ask to choose from a list the best description of how they feel when doing whatever they enjoy doing most, reading, climbing mountains, playing chess, whatever, the answer most frequently chosen is designing or discovering something new. At first, it seems strange that dancers, rock climbers, and composers all agree that their most enjoyable experiences resemble a process of discovery. But when we think about it some more, it seems perfectly reasonable that at least some people should enjoy discovering and creating above all else. To see the logic of this, try a simple thought experiment. Suppose that you want to build an organism, an artificial life form that will have the best chance of surviving in a complex and unpredictable environment, such as that on Earth. You want to build into this organism some mechanism that will prepare it to confront as many of the sudden dangers and to take advantage of as many of the opportunities that arise as possible. How would you go about doing this? Certainly, you would want to design an organism that is basically conservative, one that learns the best solutions from the past and keeps repeating them, trying to save energy, to be cautious, and to go with the tried and true patterns of behavior. But the best solution would also, sorry, just gonna align the book here a little bit, but the best solution would also include a relay system in a few organisms that would give a positive reinforcement every time they discovered something new or came up with a novel idea or behavior, whether or not it was immediately useful. It is especially important to make sure that the organism was not rewarded only for useful discoveries, otherwise it would be severely handicapped in meeting the future. For no earthly builder could anticipate the kind of situations the species of new organisms might encounter tomorrow, next year, or in the next decade. So the best program is one that makes the organism feel good whenever something new is discovered, regardless of its present usefulness. And this is what seems to have happened with our race through evolution. By random mutations, some individuals must have developed a nervous system in which the discovery of novelty stimulates the pleasure centers in the brain. Just as some individuals derive a keener pleasure from sex and others from food, so some must have been born who derived a keener pleasure from learning something new. It is possible that children who were more curious ran more risks, and so were more likely to die earlier than their more stolid companions. But it is also probable that those human groups that learn to appreciate the curious children among them and help to protect and reward them so that they could grow to maturity and have children of their own were more successful than groups that ignored the potentially creative in their midst. If this is true, we are the descendants of ancestors who recognized the importance of novelty, protected those individuals who enjoyed being creative and learned from them. Because they had among them individuals who enjoyed exploring and inventing, they were better prepared to face the unpredictable conditions that threatened their survival. So too, we share this propensity. We can discover or design. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line there. So we too share this propensity for enjoying whatever we do, provided we can do it in a new way, provided we can discover or design something new in doing it. This is why creativity, no matter in what domain it takes place, is so enjoyable. This is why Brenda Milner, among many others, said, I would say that I am impartial about what is important or great, because every little discovery, even a tiny one, is exciting at the moment of discovery. But this is only part of the story. Another force motivates us, and it is more primitive and more powerful than the urge to create, the force of entropy. This too is a survival mechanism built into our genes by evolution. It gives us pleasure when we are comfortable, when we relax, when we can get away with feeling good without expending energy. If we didn't have this built-in regulator, we could easily kill ourselves by running ragged and then not having enough reserves of strength, body fat, or nervous energy to face the unexpected. This is the reason why the urge to relax, to curl up comfortably on the sofa whenever we can get away with it is so strong, because this conservative urge is so powerful. For most people, free time means a chance to wind down, to park the mind in neutral. When there are no external demands, entropy kicks in. And unless we understand what is happening, it takes over the mind, it takes over the body and our mind. We're generally torn between two opposite sex sets. Oh, sorry. We are generally torn between two opposite sets of instructions programmed into the brain. The least effort imperative on one side, which is the left brain, and the claims of creativity on the other, which is the right brain. In most individuals, entropy seems to be stronger, and they enjoy comfort more than the challenge of discovery. A few, like the ones who tell their stories in this book, are more responsive to the rewards of discovery. But we all respond to both of these rewards. The tendencies toward conserving energy, as well as using it constructively, are simultaneously part of our inheritance. Which one wins depends not only on our genetic makeup, but also presumably on our early experiences. However, unless enough people are motivated by the enjoyment that comes from confronting challenges, by discovering new ways of being and doing, there is no evolution of culture, no progress in thought or feeling. It is important, therefore, to understand better what enjoyment consists of and how creativity can produce it. What is enjoyment? In order to answer that question, many years ago, I started to study people who seemed to be doing things that they enjoyed but were not rewarded for with money or fame. Chess players, rock climbers, dancers, and composers devoted many hours a week to their avocations. Why were they doing it? It is clear from talking to them that what kept them motivated was the quality of experience they felt when they were involved with the activity. This feeling didn't come when they were relaxing, when they were taking drugs or alcohol, or when they were consuming the expensive privileges of wealth. Rather, it often involved painful, risky, difficult activities that stretched the person's capacity and involved an element of novelty and discovery. This optimal experience is what I have called flow, because many of the respondents described the feeling when things were going well as an almost automatic, effortless, yet highly focused state of consciousness. And another word for flow, just a side note here, would be you hear phrases like being in the zone or being, uh, Abraham Hicks talked about tuned in, tapped in, turned on, right, to the universe or to the flow of life, the same concept. Using many different words to describe the same experience, tapping into something that is higher, that is greater than ourselves, that is greater than our consciousness, right? Which is the universe or God, the Akashic records, or whatever you like to call it, or consciousness, or higher self, right? Whatever name you want to call it. It's all the same, same thing. The flow experience was described in almost identical terms, regardless of the activity that produced it. Athletes, artists, religious mystics, scientists, and ordinary working people described their most rewarding experiences with very similar words. And the description did not vary much by culture, gender, or age. Old and young, rich and poor, men and women, Americans and Japanese seem to experience enjoyment in the same way, even though they may be doing very different things to attain it. 9 main elements were mentioned over and over again to describe how it feels when an experience is enjoyable. 1, there are clear goals every step of the way. In contrast to what happens in everyday life, on the job or at home, where often there are contradictory demands and our purpose is unsure, in flow, we always know what needs to be done. The musician knows what notes to play next. The rock climber knows the next moves to make. When a job is enjoyable, it also has clear goals. The surgeon is aware how the incision should proceed moment by moment. The farmer has a plan for how to carry out the planting. 2, there is immediate feedback to one's actions. Again, in contrast to the usual state of affairs, in a flow experience, we know how well we are doing. The musician hears right away whether the note played is the one. The rock climber finds out immediately whether the move was correct because he or she is still hanging in there and hasn't fallen to the bottom of the valley. The surgeon sees there is no blood in the cavity, and the farmer sees the furrows lining up neatly in the field. 3, there is a balance between challenges and skills. In flow, we feel that our abilities are well matched to the opportunities for action. In everyday life, we sometimes feel that the challenges are too high in relation to our skills, and then we feel frustrated and anxious. Or we feel that our potential is greater than the opportunities to express it, and then we feel bored. Playing tennis or chess against a much better opponent leads to frustration. Against a much weaker opponent, to boredom. In a really enjoyable game, the players are balanced on the fine line between boredom and anxiety. The same is true when work or a conversation or a relationship is going well. 4, action and awareness are merged. It is typical of everyday experience that our minds are disjointed from what we do. Sitting in class, students may appear to be paying attention to the teacher, but they're actually thinking about lunch or last night's date. The worker thinks about the weekend. The mother cleaning house is worried about her child. The golfer's mind is preoccupied with how his swing looks to his friends. In flow, however, our concentration is focused on what we do. One-pointedness of mind is required by the close match between challenges and skills, and it is made possible by the clarity of goals and the constant availability of feedback. Now, one of the Buddhist teachings, the Eight Path Fold, the Buddha talks about one-pointedness, having that focused, lasered mind to get something done. And in a way, it is true that it's hand in glove with action, kind of like what the author was saying here. Yeah, that when you're very pointedness, you're concentrating all that energy into that one action, and you do get a lot done in a very short amount of time. Interesting, eh? Number 5, dimensions are excluded from consciousness. Another typical element of flow is that we are aware of what it is relevant here and now. If the physician, excuse me, a little burp there. If the musician thinks of his health or tax problems when playing, he is likely to hit a wrong note. If the surgeon's mind wanders during an operation, the patient's life is in danger. Flow is the result of intense concentration on the present, which relieves us of the usual fears that cause depression and anxiety in everyday life. 6, there is no worry of failure. While in flow, we are too involved to be concerned with failure. Some people describe it as a feeling of total control, but actually we are not in control. It's just that the issue is not even come up. It's just that the issue does not even come up. If it did, we would not be concentrating totally because our attention would be split between what we did and the feeling of control. And this is what Abraham Hicks talks about, the split energy, right? Interesting, huh? The reason that failure is not an issue is that in flow, it is clear what has to be done, and our skills are potentially adequate to the challenges. 7, self-consciousness disappears. In everyday life, we're always monitoring how we appear to other people. We are on the alert to defend ourselves from potential slights and anxious to make a favorable impression. Typically, this awareness of self is a burden. In flow, we are too involved in what we're doing to care about protecting the ego. Yet, after an episode of flow is over, we generally emerge from it with a stronger self-concept. We know that we have succeeded in meeting a difficult challenge. We might even feel that we have stepped out of the boundaries of the ego and have become part, at least temporarily, of a larger entity. The musician feels at one with the harmony of the cosmos. The athlete moves at one with the team. The reader of a novel lives for a few hours in a different reality. Paradoxically, the self expands through acts of self-forgetfulness. 8, the sense of time becomes distorted. Generally, in flow, we forget time, and hours may pass by in what seem like a few minutes. Or the opposite happens. A figure skater may report that a quick turn that in real time takes only a second seems to stretch out for 10 times as long. In other words, clock time no longer marks equal lengths of experience time. Our sense of how much time passes depends on what we're doing. Oops. 9, creativity becomes autotolic. However, whenever most of these conditions are present, we begin to enjoy whatever it is that produces such an experience. I may be scared of using a computer and learn to do it only because my job depends on it. But as my skills increase and I recognize what the computer allows me to do, I may begin to enjoy using the computer for its own sake as well. At this point, the activity becomes autotelic, which is Greek for something that is an end in itself. Some activities, such as art, music, and sports, are usually autotelic. There is no reason for doing them except to feel the experience they provide. Most things in life are exotelic. We do them not because we enjoy them, but in order to get at some later goal. And some activities are both. The violinist gets sorry, no, the violinist gets paid, doesn't get rid. The violinist gets paid for playing, and the surgeon gets status and good money for operating, as well as getting enjoyment from doing what they do. In many ways, the secret to a happy life is to learn to get flow from as many of the things we have to do as possible. If work and family life becomes autotelic, then there is nothing wasted in life, and everything we do is worth doing for its own sake. Interesting. That is what I'm striving for right now. Having an autotelic life, an inside, an inner, what is it, the word that I want? Inner, I'm a loss for word, but it's an inner enjoyment in doing things. So like with the book clubs, if I don't have anybody join us, during the live Zoom calls, I still do it because I love to read. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be very much looking forward to reading this with you and sharing this journey with you. And like I said, I'll put all the links down below, and I hope you join us and check out the animated film with the same name. In the meantime, I hope you guys all have a good week, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye now.